My brother showed up with a moving truck and a fake title to kick me out of my grandfather's house. He had no idea I'd already transferred the property into a trust he couldn't touch. Honey, let me tell you, the look on a narcissist's face when their house of cards comes crashing down, it is better than any Michelin star meal you will ever taste. It is sweeter than the finest chocolate. And I got to savor it in high definition right on my front porch. Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning. I'm standing on the wraparound porch of the lakeside lodge that my grandfather built with his bare hands. I'm wearing my rattiest sweatpants, holding a mug of coffee that says, "Not today, Satan," and watching a massive bright yellow moving truck back into my driveway. And who hops out of the passenger seat? My younger brother, Lucas. He's wearing these ridiculous aviator sunglasses, looking like he's about to shoot a music video, grinning like the Cheshire Cat. Trailing behind him is my mother, clutching a clipboard like she's the foreman of a construction site, barking orders at these poor, confused movers. They thought they were there to evict me. They thought they had won. They thought the piece of paper in Lucas's back pocket was going to erase 30 years of them treating me like the help while treating Lucas like the second coming of Christ. What they didn't know was that standing just inside the screen door, sipping an iced tea and looking very unamused, was a county fraud investigator named Detective Miller. And honey, Detective Miller was not there to help them move furniture. But before I tell you about the explosion, and trust me, the explosion was nuclear, I need to tell you how we got to this point, because you need to understand the level of delusion I was dealing with. The backstory. My name is Elena. I'm 34 years old, and for my entire life, I have been the responsible one. You know the type, the one who remembers birthdays, the one who drives people to the airport at 4 a.m., the one who mediates the fights. And then there's Lucas. Lucas is 31. He is the golden child, the baby, the one who could set the house on fire, and my mother would blame the match manufacturer. Lucas is charming, I'll give him that. He's got that salesman smile that makes you want to believe him, even when you know he's lying through his teeth. He's floated through life on other people's money and my mother's excuses. My grandparents, bless their souls, saw right through it. They were salt of the earth people. Grandpa built his wealth through hard work, contracting, smart investments, and buying land when it was dirt cheap. The jewel of their estate was the lodge, a stunning timber frame house overlooking the water, and a portfolio worth about $1.2 million. 3 years ago, Grandma got sick. It was bad. Dementia is a cruel, slow thief. And guess who stepped up? Me. I moved in. I changed the diapers. I managed the medications. I held her hand when she didn't know who I was. I cooked, I cleaned, and I kept that house running. Where was Lucas? Oh, he was busy. Busy trying to become an influencer or a day trader or whatever flavor of the month scheme he was on. He'd show up for Christmas, take a selfie with Grandma for the likes, caption it, "Love my Nana, she's my heart," and then leave before the dishes were done. When Grandpa got sick a year after Grandma passed, it was the same story. I was the nurse. I was the chauffeur. I was the daughter he deserved, even though I was just the granddaughter. My mother, she's a piece of work. She viewed her parents as an ATM. She'd come over, drink their wine, complain about how hard it was to see them like this, and then ask for a check to cover Lucas's rent because he was between opportunities. When Grandpa passed away last year, the grief nearly broke me. I was exhausted. I was hollowed out. But I was also the only one who actually knew where the important papers were. The will reading was cinematic. My mother and Lucas walked into that lawyer's office looking like they were ready to collect lottery winnings. Lucas was literally scrolling through Zillow on his phone, looking at luxury condos in the city. They assumed, naturally, that everything would go to Mom and then trickle down to Lucas. When the lawyer, Mr. Henderson, a stern man with eyebrows that could cut glass, read the words, "To my daughter I leave the sum of $50,000. To my grandson, Lucas, I leave the sum of $10,000. To my granddaughter, Elena, who stood by us when the world moved on. I leave the remainder of the estate, including real property and investment holdings. The silence in that room was loud. It wasn't just quiet, it was a vacuum. My mother's face did this thing where it looked like she had just bitten into a lemon wrapped in aluminum foil. Her mouth turned into a literal anus. Lucas dropped his phone. Clatter. "Excuse me?" my mother hissed. "There must be a mistake. Daddy wasn't in his right mind." Mr. Henderson didn't even look up. On the contrary, he was evaluated by 2 independent physicians the day he signed this update. It is ironclad. I didn't say a word. I just felt this wave of relief. Not because of the money, though, let's be real, it was life-changing, but because Grandpa saw me. He actually saw me. The escalation. Now, if you think they just accepted this and moved on, you have clearly never met an entitled family. The first few months were a barrage of guilt trips. Mom would call me weeping. "Elena, how can you do this to your brother? He needs a start in life. This house, it's too much for one person. It's selfish." Lucas tried a different tactic. He'd text me, "Hey sis, congrats. Listen, I've got this investment opportunity, crypto-based real estate, guaranteed 20% returns. If you front me $100K from the inheritance, we can double it by Christmas." I ignored them. I blocked the numbers when it got too much. I focused on the house. I started renovating the deck, fixing the roof, putting the love back into the place. But then things got quiet. Too quiet. You know that feeling when you're walking in the woods and all the birds suddenly stop singing? That primal instinct that says something is hunting you? That's what I felt about 4 months ago. Lucas stopped asking for money. Mom stopped calling to scream at me. Then I saw the social media posts. Lucas posted a picture of champagne glasses with the caption, "Justice is coming, taking back what's ours. Why's family first? Why empire building?" My stomach dropped. I knew, just knew, they were cooking something up. I'm not a paranoid person, but I am a careful one. I decided not to take any chances. I went back to Mr. Henderson, the lawyer. I told him, I don't trust them. I feel like they're going to try to challenge the will or find a loophole. Mr. Henderson nodded. He'd seen this movie before. He advised me to move everything, the house, the savings, the stocks, into an irrevocable trust. Now, for those of you who don't speak lawyer, let me explain why this is the ultimate power move. When you put property into this kind of trust, you don't own it anymore. The trust owns it. It becomes a separate legal entity. I was the trustee, meaning I managed it, and I was the beneficiary, meaning I got to use it. But legally, Elena didn't own a single brick of that lodge. We did the paperwork. It was tedious. It cost me a few $1,000s in fees. We transferred the deed. We moved the utilities to a business account. I scrubbed my name off the public property records. If you looked up the address in the county database, the owner was listed as the E&G Legacy Trust. I didn't tell a soul. Not my friends, not my cousins, and certainly not my mother. Invisible CTA. If you are already getting that tingle in your spine because you know how messy this is about to get, hit that like button right now. Because honestly, I haven't even gotten to the part where they commit a felony. The escalation continues. 2 weeks ago, I was at the grocery store and I ran into an old friend of my grandfather's, Mr. Abernathy. He works down at the county clerk's office. He's about 80 years old, sharp as a tack, and loves gossip almost as much as I do. He grabbed my arm in the frozen food aisle. "Elena," he whispered, looking around like he was passing state secrets. "Your brother was in the office yesterday." My blood ran cold. "Lucas? What was he doing there?" "He was asking about the deed to the lodge," Mr. Abernathy said. "He had some paperwork, looked unofficial. He was trying to file a correction of deed. Said there was an administrative error and his name was supposed to be on it." I stared at him. "What did you tell him? Did you—" "I wasn't the one at the desk," he said. It was the new girl, Sarah. I saw her stamp something. I tried to catch her after, but she'd already filed it. Elena, you need to check the records. I raced home. I logged into the county portal, and there it was. A pending update. A document had been scanned in. It was a quitclaim deed, supposedly signed by my grandfather 3 years ago, transferring the property to Lucas and Elena jointly. It was a clumsy forgery. The date was wrong. It was dated a week before Grandpa broke his wrist, but the signature was shaky, like how he wrote after the injury. And the notary stamp, it looked blurry, like it had been photocopied from another document and pasted on. But here is the kicker. They filed it against the old deed. They were trying to transfer ownership from Grandpa to Lucas, Elena. But Grandpa didn't own the house anymore. The trust did. Technically, they were trying to steal a house from a dead man who had already given it away. It was a legal impossibility. But the attempt was fraud. I didn't call them. I didn't scream. I called Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson made a phone call to the district attorney's office. The DA was very interested. They sent a fraud investigator, Detective Miller, to my house the next morning to look at the original documents. Detective Miller was a serious guy. No smile, just facts. He was sitting at my kitchen table looking at the forgery on his laptop when we heard the rumble. The climax rumble, rumble, beep, beep, beep. I looked out the window. The yellow moving truck. Is that them? Detective Miller asked, closing his laptop slowly. That's them, I said, my heart hammering against my ribs. Stay here for a second. He said, let them commit to the act. I walked out onto the porch. That brings us back to the start. Lucas in his aviators, Mom with her clipboard. Lucas strode up the steps, bypassing me entirely. All right, boys, he yelled to the movers. Start with the living room furniture. Anything that looks antique goes in the truck. The rest can go to the curb. Excuse me? I said, leaning against the railing. Lucas, what are you doing? He stopped and pulled down his sunglasses. He gave me this pitying look. It's over, Elena. We found the real deed. Grandpa left the house to both of us, but since you've been squatting here and refusing to share, Mom and I decided it's best if I take over management. We're selling it. We've got a buyer lined up for the land. Developers. He was going to bulldoze Grandpa's lodge. My mother chimed in, walking up the stairs, her heels clicking on the wood. We tried to be nice, Elena. We tried to do this as a family, but you got greedy. So legally, half this house is Lucas's, and since you're being difficult, we're evicting you. You have 24 hours to get your personal items out. She handed me a piece of paper. It was a copy of the forged deed. This is fake, I said calmly. It's filed with the county, Lucas shouted, getting in my face. It's official public record as of yesterday. You're trespassing. Actually, a deep voice said from behind the screen door. You are. Detective Miller pushed the door open. He stepped out. He was wearing a plain suit, but his badge was clipped very visibly to his belt. Lucas stepped back, confused. Who's this, your boyfriend? I'm Detective Miller, County Property Crimes Division, he said. His voice was like gravel. And you must be Lucas. We've been looking for the person who filed document DU4492 yesterday. The color drained from Lucas's face so fast it looked like a special effect. He went from tan to translucent in 3 seconds. What? Lucas stammered. Filing a false instrument with a government agency is a felony, Miller said, walking down the steps. Forging a notary seal is a felony. Attempted grand larceny, well, that's just the cherry on top. My mother shrieked, This is ridiculous. That deed is real. Daddy signed it. Ma'am, I said, cutting her off. Grandpa didn't own this house when he died. The trust did. I moved it months ago. You tried to forge a transfer from a dead man for a property he didn't even hold title to anymore. You played yourself. The silence was deafening. The movers, bless their hearts, had stopped halfway up the drive. Ideally, they realized this was way above their pay grade. One of them literally put a lamp down on the grass and started walking back to the truck. Lucas looked at the detective, then at me, then at the piece of paper in his hand. He crumbled it up. I didn't know, Lucas whimpered. The swagger was gone. The aviators were sliding down his sweaty nose. Mom gave it to me. She said she found it. Bus thrown under. My mother gasped. I did no such thing. You said you handled it. I'm going to need you both to step away from the residence, Detective Miller said. And Lucas, don't leave town. We'll be in touch regarding the warrant. Warrant? Lucas squeaked. Get off my property, I said. And I didn't shout it. I said it with the quiet authority of someone who owns the ground they are standing on. They scrambled. It was pathetic. They practically ran to my mother's car. The moving truck driver just waved at me, closed the back door, and drove off. The fallout. I sat on the porch for an hour after they left, just shaking. Adrenaline is a hell of a drug, but of course that wasn't the end. Narcissists don't just go away, they regroup. 3 days later, I got a letter, not a criminal summons, that went to Lucas. I got a demand letter from a lawyer representing my mother. She was suing me for intentional infliction of emotional distress and claiming elder abuse, arguing that I had coerced Grandpa into creating the trust to cut out his beloved family. She demanded a settlement of $200,000 to drop the investigation she was threatening to launch. The audacity, the sheer, unadulterated gall. I called my cousin Becky. Becky is the family gossip hub. If you tell Becky something, it's broadcast to 3 states within an hour. Becky, I said, you won't believe what Aunt Karen is saying. Oh, honey, I know, Becky said. She called my mom. She told everyone that you forged the will, that you held Grandpa hostage, and that you called the cops on Lucas for just trying to pick up some heirlooms. They were smearing me. They were trying to destroy my reputation because they couldn't get the money. That was the moment I decided to stop being defensive and go on the offensive. Invisible CTA. Make sure you are subscribed because the update I'm about to drop is going to make you scream. This is where I go scorched earth. The retaliation, I spent the night scanning documents. I scanned the original will. I scanned the fake deed they filed. I scanned the timestamp showing the trust transfer. And I scanned the police report Detective Miller had kindly provided me with, which detailed the clumsy forgery and intent to defraud. I drafted an email, subject line, the truth about the estate. I CC'd everyone, my aunts, uncles, cousins, the pastor of their church, and for good measure, the neighbors they tried to impress. The email was short. I know there are rumors circulating. I value our family too much to let lies stand. Attached is the police report regarding Lucas and Mom's attempt to defraud the estate along with the forgery they submitted. Please read it before you choose a side. Send, but I wasn't done. See, Lucas had a job, a good job. He worked as a junior associate at a boutique investment firm in the city, a firm that handles, you guessed it, high-value estates and property transfers. Do you think a finance firm wants an employee who is actively under investigation for real estate fraud? I didn't tell them who I was. I just sent an anonymous tip to their compliance officer. I attached the public record of the fraudulent filing and the pending charges. Update 2 weeks later. The family blowout was catastrophic. My phone blew up for 2 days straight. Most of my cousins were horrified. Aunt Linda, my mom's sister, called me and apologized for believing the lies. She said, I saw the signature on that fake deed. That looks nothing like Dad's writing. It looks like Lucas writing with his left hand. My mother has been ostracized. She tried to show up at the church potluck, and apparently the ladies of the auxiliary committee turned their backs on her. Social death in a small town. As for Lucas, he called me 2 a.m. He was drunk. You ruined my life, he screamed into the voicemail. They fired me, Elena. They walked me out of the building. I'm blacklisted. I didn't answer. I just saved the voicemail, for the file. Update 2, the legal action. It's been 2 months now. Lucas was formally charged with 2 counts of filing a false instrument and 1 count of forgery. Because he has no prior criminal record, his lawyer is trying to get him a plea deal. He's likely looking at massive fines, community service, and a felony record that will ensure he never works in finance again. He's currently living in my mother's basement. My mother dropped her lawsuit. Mr. Henderson sent her lawyer a countersuit threat for frivolous litigation and defamation attached with the proof that she was an accomplice to the fraud. Her lawyer apparently fired her as a client the next day. I see her sometimes at the grocery store. She looks away. She looks older, defeated. Last weekend, I sat on the dock of the lodge. The sun was setting, turning the lake this incredible purple-orange color. It was quiet, no movers, no screaming, no drama. I raised my glass of wine to the sky. Cheers, Grandpa. I kept it safe. The best revenge isn't screaming. It isn't fighting. It's living in your beautiful, paid-off house, knowing that the people who tried to destroy you are currently miserable in a basement, blaming everyone but themselves. So here's my question for you guys. My Aunt Linda says I should forgive them eventually because family is family. I told her that family doesn't try to have you arrested for living in your own house. Am I being too harsh? Or should I keep that bridge burned to the ground? Let me know in the comments. And if you have a golden child sibling, spill the tea. I'm reading everything. Stay petty, queens.